Trainer Greg Hackett didn't hold back when talking about what he thinks would have happened if Jaron "Boots" Ennis had fought Teofimo Lopez recently. In his eyes, that kind of fight wouldn't have just been a tough night for Teofimo, it would have been career-ending. Hackett believes the punishment Lopez would have taken from Ennis wouldn't just result in a loss on his record, it would have completely derailed his future. According to Hackett, Teofimo wouldn't even be considered for major fights anymore. After such a one-sided beating, promoters and networks would stop seeing him as a star attraction, and the opportunities he's chasing would simply dry up. Teofimo Lopez, who currently holds the title at 140 pounds and has a record of 22 wins and only one loss, had been trying hard to secure a fight with Jaron Ennis. Ennis, the undefeated IBF and WBC welterweight champion with a powerful 34-0 record, including 30 knockouts, wasn't interested, or at least the fight wasn't catching the attention of the boxing world enough to get made. Even though Teofimo had been vocal and persistent about wanting that matchup, the buzz wasn't there, and it became clear that the fight wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Lopez was banking on that fight to elevate him, to put him back in the spotlight, and to land a big payday, but it just didn't materialize. Hackett didn't stop there. He took aim at Lopez's mindset, saying that Teofimo seems more focused on chasing big checks than meaningful fights. In his words, Lopez has turned into a money whore, willing to do just about anything to get into a big money matchup. At this stage in his career, Hackett thinks Teofimo is chasing fame and fortune rather than staying grounded and building his legacy the right way. Lopez even tried to go after a fight with Terrence Crawford, but once again, nothing came of it. These repeated attempts at scoring huge bouts make Hackett believe that Teofimo is growing impatient, frustrated with the kind of money he's currently earning, and desperate to break into the financial league of fighters like Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and Gervonta Davis. Hackett was particularly blunt when speaking about Lopez's recent fight with Arnold Barboza Jr. on May 2nd. He called out Teofimo for boasting that he could beat someone like Ennis, pointing out that he couldn't even dominate Barboza. According to Hackett, it was a mediocre performance at best. Lopez didn't manage to stop Barboza, and Hackett insists that any top-level fighter would have knocked Barboza out without too much trouble. That failure to finish a weaker opponent, in Hackett's view, shows that Teofimo is not in the kind of shape or mindset to take on someone as dangerous as Boots Ennis. In his opinion, Teofimo talking like he could win that fight is completely unrealistic. Hackett believes that if Teofimo actually stepped into the ring with Ennis, the result would be clear from the start. Lopez would likely spend the entire fight moving around the ring, trying to avoid damage, just like he did against Barboza. In Hackett's eyes, Teofimo wouldn't be able to land anything significant and would end up losing a one-sided 12-round decision. He thinks that Lopez's strategy in the Barboza fight may have even been a test run, a sort of trial for how he'd handle the pressure of fighting someone like Ennis. But the problem with that approach, Hackett says, is that Lopez had no reason to be so defensive against someone like Barboza, who isn't known for his power. That excessive movement didn't make sense and showed a lack of confidence, even against a relatively safe opponent. Ultimately, Hackett sees Lopez as a fighter who's becoming more about the business than the battle. Instead of climbing the ranks with grit and discipline, he's skipping steps and hoping a massive payday will fall into his lap. But as far as Hackett is concerned, if Teofimo ever faced a real threat like Ennis, it wouldn't just be a bad night. It might be the last night he ever gets to be taken seriously in a big fight. Hackett's criticism doesn't just stem from rivalry or tough talk. He's genuinely questioning Teofimo's mindset and how it has shifted since his early days in the sport. When Teofimo first broke onto the scene, he was seen as a fearless fighter with explosive talent and a chip on his shoulder. But now, Hackett feels that hunger has been replaced by frustration and entitlement. In his view, Teofimo wants the respect and the rewards that come with being a superstar without doing the hard work that earns it. He's no longer the underdog trying to prove himself. He's the guy calling out names, demanding big fights, and acting like he's already earned a spot among the elite without backing it up in the ring. This shift in behavior, according to Hackett, is dangerous for a fighter. It's one thing to have confidence, but it's another to overlook the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Hackett sees Ennis as a completely different animal, disciplined, powerful, and laser-focused. Unlike Teofimo, Boots isn't chasing headlines or calling out every big name in the sport. He's quietly putting in work and making a statement with every dominant win. That's the kind of fighter Hackett believes Teofimo used to be, but has now drifted away from. The contrast between the two fighters is sharp, and if they ever met, in the ring, Hackett believes it would be brutally obvious. Teofimo's recent performances haven't helped his case either. While he's still winning, the excitement and dominance that once surrounded him seem to have faded. Fans and analysts have noticed that he doesn't have the same spark or urgency he once had. His fights now often go the distance, and there's less of that explosive energy that made him a fan favorite. Hackett thinks this decline is more mental than physical. He believes Teofimo has lost focus and become distracted by the business side of boxing, looking for shortcuts to fame and fortune instead of staying committed to his craft. In today's boxing world, where social media hype and call-outs can sometimes get a fighter more attention than actual wins, Hackett feels it's easy for someone like Teofimo to fall into that trap. But he warns that this kind of strategy can only get you so far. Eventually, you have to step in the ring and back up everything you've been saying, and Hackett is confident that if Teofimo ever found himself across from someone like Jaron Ennis, all the talk would disappear. The truth, Hackett insists, would come out fast, and it wouldn't be pretty for Lopez. Ultimately, Hackett's message is clear. Boxing is a sport that doesn't care about your name or your past achievements. It rewards discipline, focus, and preparation, and punishes those who lose sight of that. In his view, Teofimo Lopez is walking a dangerous line, trying to cash in before he's truly earned it. Meanwhile, fighters like Boots Ennis are building something real, something that can't be hyped or faked. If Teofimo keeps heading down this path without adjusting his mindset, Hackett believes a rude awakening is waiting, and it could come at the hands of a fighter who's not just better, prepared, but hungrier, smarter, and far more dangerous.